A sync point. What should do? So already I had red foes, so beggar of Melef's circle. So Alanak details. Alanak is a large city-state located to the south of a vast nameless desert and north of large dusty flatlands. The city itself is situated within a narrow band of rocky wastelands in between. East of the city, I have to drink some tea. For some reason my throat was getting sore already, and that didn't help much, but I'll try to manage. East of the city are huge salt flats, beyond which nobody has had the vigor to travel. Beyond the dusty plains in the south is the Sea of Eternal Dust, whose various surrounding villages provide the backbone of Alanak's economy. Huge salt flats east of the city. The city itself is situated within a narrow band of rocky wastelands. South of a vast nameless desert. And north of large dusty flatlands. I don't actually memorize what I'm reading. That's a big problem for me sometimes. Well, I don't know if it's that big. I'm a slow reader overall. That might be a much bigger problem. I really hate when people talk really fast, and I can't make heads or tails of what they are saying. So maybe, just maybe, my commentary style might be suitable for, I don't know, for reading stuff. So where was I? Beyond the dusty plains in the south is the Sea of Eternal Dust, whose various surrounding villages provide the backbone of Alanak's economy. North of the desert is a huge mountainous cliffside known as the Shield Wall, beyond which few people, aside from desert merchants, have passed. North of the desert is huge mountainous cliffside. Okay. The city itself is divided into 6 main quarters. The commoners' quarter, the merchants' quarter, the nobles' quarter, and the temples' quarter, the elementalists' quarter, and the labyrinth. The commoners' quarter is in the west. My throat. It's not used to reading stuff. Or even speaking for that matter. I don't really speak all that much, really. Anyway, but in my videos. Where was I? The commoners' quarter in the west contains tenements and apartment buildings. Is that a temporary living place? Let's see. Yes, pretty much. A rentable house. That's that might, well, I mistook them for slums or something. But anyway, I had the general idea. They are for the poor. Where was I? The commoners' quarter in the west contains tenements and apartment buildings occupied by the city's common people, as well as taverns and a few shops. A merchant's quarter contains a large bazaar and various merchant estates within the northeast section of the city. The Templars and Nobles' quarters, located on the south and east sides of the city, respectively, each contain residences of the city's rulers. The Elementalists' quarter in the northwest of the city is where the feared magic users are segregated. The labyrinth is a crumbling network of alleys in the far northern end of the city. By the way, I feel like my pronunciation is sometimes. Not pronunciation, is that annunciation. That might have been the word I meant. Yes, my annunciation is poor when when there are small words. I don't know. It feels like that. At least when I am listening to. When I am speaking from my recordings. But any slower speaking, and I would bore anyone to death. So I don't know what I should be doing about that. The labyrinth is a crumbling network of alleys in the far northern end of the city, originally a new merchant district, but has since been abandoned and turned into a haven for the city's thieves and smugglers. Society. The life of an Alanaki citizen is one of strife. Expensive and degenerate living conditions, a nearly omnipotent ruler and his Templars watching your every move. I thought that was the other city. Let's see. Well, I already closed that other window. It might be in Zalanth's thing. No, I don't see it. Anyway, watching your every move and no place to hide except the burning wastelands outside the city gates. High Lord Tectolnus inspires a silent paranoia in all of his subjects and has remained unchallenged during his multi-millennium reign. All Alanakis are slaves belonging to the nobles and Templars, and the commoners are usually of the merchant class. Employees. Commoners are usually of the merchant class. The class system, not anything of the quarters or something. So a merchant town, eh? Employees of noble houses or soldiers in Tectolnus' army. The rest of the population earn their living in less honest ways. Templars are his gloriousness's elite soldiers and spell casters. Their power comes from Tectolnus himself rather than from the elements. More deadly, but with few applications aside from destroying people who pose a threat to him. Templars basically have the power to act as judge, jury and executioner, and don't hesitate to use it whenever they desire. The nobles spend their careers gathering popular support, serving in the Senate, or otherwise advancing the goals of their houses. Nobles are accustomed to a very luxurious lifestyle, far beyond the means of the commoners. Many commoners may have little idea what a noble's life really entails, but they know that nobles are simply a better breed than they. One reason for my throat soreness might be that I am not in a very upward position. At least my music teachers have taught me that I should stand when I'm singing or something. Of course, I don't really much sing, but that might be that might also hold true for just speaking. I think I was here. The nobles spent their careers gathering popular support, serving in the Senate, or otherwise advancing the goals of their houses. Nobles are accustomed to a very luxurious lifestyle, far beyond the means of the commoners. Many commoners may have... Okay, I already read that. Economy. Alanek's economy, though still strong, is currently under much stress. Some years ago, the city's divine ruler, His Gloriousness High Lord Tekolness? I thought it was Tektolness. Let's see. Yes, Tektolness. Who is this? Oh, okay, where did it go? Ah, here. Tekolness. Who is this Tekolness you are talking about? I don't know if you other people, you lesser breed, not lesser, but of the lower castes than me suffer actually pay any attention to spelling, but well, I sometimes do. His Gloriousness High Lord Tekolness issued issued a citywide ban on most types of influencing spices. It's under much stress, so okay. In what some have quietly called an insane attempt to purify the minds of his subjects, as his senior Templar and bastard child Gohran Tektolness put it. Alanek is still one of the richest civilizations of Salanfas. However, with two major merchant house bazaars and a main bazaar for our trading. Yes, it's a city, but it's also a civilization. That's somehow. It's still somewhat strange to think about the city-states. I'm not accustomed to that. Well, of course I know what they are, but still. Anak is still one of the richest civilizations on Salanfas. However, with two major merchant house bazaars and the main bazaar for our trading, the four great merchant houses are Cadius, Salar, Neniuk and Kurak. House Cadius is a house based in Alanak, which trades for the most part in furs, skins, jewels and other rarities. House Salar, a nomadic house, has emporiums in many small villages as well as cities, and deals in weapons, armor and other tools of war. House Neniuk handles the city's banking and real estate. They are the slumlords of nearly every commoner. Slumlord? Slums, of course. As opposed to landlords, yes. I get it. House Krag has historically strained relations with city government, and while at times they sell desert gear within the city walls, the spice trade is banned. Oh, yes, it's the fourth one. Government. While the Alanak Senate, a gathering of nobles, meets yearly to decide matters of policy and law, the real power in Alanak is the High Lord. Every whim of his gloriousness, High Lord Technotoles becomes Alanaki law immediately. Through the actions of his Templars. He never goes out alone into the city's dirty streets, because his distrust of the commoners and desire for seclusion. Instead, the Templars orchestrate his plans to a letter. He trusts them no more than the people of his city, but he realizes that they fear his powers too much to act against him. Okay, more drinking. The labyrinth. It was the quarter, the last quarter of this Alanek place, city-state. Labyrinth or Rinth is the common slang term used for the northernmost quarter of the city of Alanak, due to the maze of alleyways that threads about the ramshackle buildings within it. A maze of alleyways. Okay, pretty interesting stuff. It's not very well designed when it seems. Ramshackle. That's is that it's of poor condition. Okay, I get it. Once it was merely a quarter for the lower classes of Alanak. But over the last several hundred years, as the rich became progressively richer and the poor poorer, the quarter has degenerated into a decayed and disease-ridden slum. So, actually nothing. That's actually... Geographically and demographically, the Rinth is made up of two distinct areas, the west side and the east side. The west side's population is for the most part made up of humans, while the east side is mainly elves. This has led to a further subdivision of Rinth culture, as the two main population groups generally keep to themselves and view each other with mistrust and suspicion, despite the fact that this general social structure and day-to-day life for most occupants of the Rinth is the same. Society. If you're from a labyrinth, your character has occupied a position of abject... more of this... What was it? Abject. Abject. Okay. I pretty much figured that out, but where was I? Where was that abject thing? Here. If you're from the labyrinth, your character has occupied a position of abject poverty and squalor for all of his or her life. Well, that might be something to consider for my character. Hunger and violence, racial or purely random, has been a daily occurrence. Disease perpetually stalks the streets. Your character knows that your character. Now we are getting, well, you text are going into the meta stuff pretty fast. Your character knows that street gangs roam wild in the winding alleyways, looking for the alone and unsuspecting. Gangs roam... Okay, and that packs of children have been known to kill the unwary for nothing more than the hope of a scrap of food. In short, life in the Rinf has been a difficult test for your character. There is no rule to creating a Rinf character's personality, but the above should be reflected when creating the history and characteristics. Okay, it is important to note that due to the rough conditions in the Rinf, many people, both PC and NPC, might not wish you well. People living there are desperate and may try to take advantage of you. Don't let this discourage you. Part of being a Rinfer lies in this challenge of dealing with and overcoming this harshness. Thinking, dressing and acting like a Rinfer will greatly help you in this regard. By the way, I think there might be something to... I have this segregation theory that the rich pretty much get the best place to live, and well, that's pretty self-explanatory, of course. But well, they have their own quarters, or how would I put it? Neighborhoods, yes, neighborhoods. And the poor people have their own. That might be something that happens in the real world. But, of course, here in Finland we have the equality is through the roof, so we don't have any of that kinds of stuff. So I don't know about any developing countries like... yours, probably. We are much better. Okay, I'll stop that. Where was I? Rinfer lies in the challenge of dealing with and overcoming this harshness. Thinking, dressing and acting like a Rinfer will greatly help you in this regard. Given the above, it is no surprise that the average Rinfer will generally treat a fellow inhabitant of the alleys with considerable suspicion and mistrust upon first meeting them. Considerable suspicion and mistrust. Okay, this attitude is often magnified when a West Sider meets an East Sider. Okay, you are not following your own rules because you asked for good grammar and now you are using instead of earn. And actually, West Sider. Shouldn't this be a West Sider? You people can't even write. Go back to school. Meets an East Sider or vice versa. However, this West Side, East Side mutual suspicion would probably not be as great as a situation where a Rinfer meets a person who is not from the alleys. All other things being equal, a Rinfer would be more likely to side with another Rinfer than somebody from not the allies. What does this mean? This west side, east side mutual suspicion would probably not be as great as a situation where Rinfer meets. Okay, yes, that makes much more sense than what I thought it was saying. However, this boundary is loose at best, and as a Rinfer, not one you'd like to have to depend on. Rinf is more than just a home to Alanak's desperate, unwanted, or racially undesirable people. Many generations of inhabitants of the Rinf have been born, lived and died in Tectolnes's chamber pot of human life. It is common knowledge that darker and more unsavory organizations have embraced the chaos and turmoil of the Rinf and made it their home. This, coupled with the fact that the general citizenry and militia of Alanak avoid this dark ghetto, has given the Rinfers an insular them versus us attitude. A person from the Rinf would found wandering the allies would be viewed with a deal of suspicion. After all, why would any sane person willingly come into such a filthy and dangerous place? With some semi-isolation from the rest of the city also leaves the average Rinfer with, at best, a scant knowledge of what's what outside the Rinf. The doings of noble houses, the merchant houses, Templars, etc. are of little meaning to most Rinfers, whose chief concerns are getting food in their bellies and staying alive. Economy. Since certain sectors of the Alanaki economy have gone underground, the Rinfs where many of the city's small to medium-sized business contracts are negotiated, although detailed knowledge of this might not be well known to the average inhabitant. Certain sectors of economy have gone underground, where many of the city's small to medium-sized business contracts are negotiated. Although detailed knowledge of this might not be well known to the average inhabitant. What is evident, however, is that money does trickle into the alleys, and at least some of the residents can afford an ale or two occasionally in a local alley tavern. Wild gangs do indeed roam the streets, but the majority of inhabitants are just trying to get by however they can. Murder is an everyday occurrence, but far more common activities are scavenging, stealing, pickpocketing, mugging, scamming, black market spice dealing, etc. As stated previously about the government, life is a constant struggle in the Rinf. Resources, food and money are scarcer here than in any other city in the known world. Naturally, this leads to competition for whatever is available in the alleys. Scarcer here than in any other city. As the militia of the city do not dare enter the alleys, this desperate competition can take the form of threats, intimidation, or outright violence. This is not to say, however, that all Rinfers are psychopathic. Is that the correct pronunciation? Psychopathic. probably mass murderers. Creating a Rinfer character does not give you license to go on a killing spree through the alleys. If a lone person was to gain such a reputation, it is likely that he or she would be dealt with by a number of concerned citizens. There are several groups of a shady nature operating in the Rinf. Growing up, your character would have heard snatches of various dealings and know that there are groups both east side and west side. The exact details of these groups are closely guarded. However, and as a Rinfer you know well that it doesn't pay to take too much of an interest in their dealings, lest they take an interest in you. Of course, if your character has something to offer such groups, this interest might not be of the fatal variety. Okay, I'm done for this recording session. I believe my throat is getting sore.